Hi everyone, I'd like to share my review of the book called The Servant, a simple story about the true essence of leadership by James Hunter. This book is a story about a person that identifies the traits he's lacking to be an effective leader in both his professional and personal life. It tells a story along his journey to put the leadership points into some practical context for us. Let me ask you all a question before we get too far. Think of an experience that you've had that you identified a person as a great leader and one as a poor leader. What stood out between the two, and how did you react to their leadership style? What is a servant? Think of that definition for a second. Is this what you were thinking about that term? Practicing servant leadership is more about meeting the needs of those people that are under you, not doing the work for them. Chapter 1 is called Definitions. Leadership versus management. I'm sure all of you have had some of those definitions in your leadership classes before. Essentially, leadership is the skill of influencing people to work towards a common goal. Remember that they influence people. Managing, on the other side, is more like coordinating things like resources, processes, inventories. You manage things, but you lead people. The teacher goes into 3 steps of developing character as a leader and those leadership skills with the 3 F's. Like all processes, foundation is pretty important to build a strong foundation. So we need to set our standards of what a great leader looks like. What are the principles that you're going to be committed to? Next is the feedback, where it's identifying the gaps that you find to really where you're at now in comparison to where you want to be. So identify those gaps as areas for improvement. So friction is eliminating those gaps, essentially, where you are now and where you need to be. And this creates measurable goals. Chapter 2 is called The Old Paradigm. What is a paradigm? When we think of that word, it's simply a standard perspective or a set of ideas. So, when we talk about paradigms in the business sense, a new paradigm could mean looking at a new way of reaching customers and making money. If something didn't work, you pivot and you create a new way of thinking about things. So you change that paradigm. Here's an example of the old paradigm of kind of the pecking order in business and in the military, they included. But the pyramid style of management, we all think of the CEO as being the top guy, and customers, of course, are way down in the bottom. But the new paradigm in business is actually inverting this pyramid to where the customers are at the top, because they're the ones driving the business with their needs, and the CEO is at the bottom, where he's being the servant leader, finding out the needs of the customers and achieving success with that. Next chapter is called The Verb, and they use the word love in the sense of a verb, not as a noun. So when we think of that word, it's describing more actions of a leader compared to the feelings of a leader. So patience, kindness, respectfulness, forgiving, honesty, those types of things are what we extend ourselves to be a good leader. The leadership model is that graphic to the right. So really you start from the bottom and go up. So first you have to have the will to achieve the leadership piece. Next, you're working on the love piece, which is all those characteristics. Through serving and sacrificing, you gain authority, and through authority, you achieve leadership. Commitment is probably the most important behavior, and that really aligns with the will at the bottom of that pyramid previously. But I want to share this quote with you that I really enjoyed from the book. Everyone wants to be involved, but nobody wants to be committed. The next time you're sitting down to eat eggs and bacon, just remember the chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. Pretty powerful. Next chapter is called the environment. So healthy environment promotes growth and good work, engaged employees, happy employees. They have buy-in to the goals of the business. So the love piece, as we use it as a verb, is behaviors to promote that growth. The teacher in the book goes into a garden type metaphor relating to the business relationships. So in essence, it's if you think of a business like a garden, you need to have a good environment, you need sunlight, you need water, you need fertilizer, those types of things for the garden to be successful. And that applies in business also, just in a different context, in different wording. They go into describe the rational bank account, which was an interesting concept. Basically, it's one negative withdrawal. For every one negative withdrawal, you need 4 positive deposits to gain back that good relationship, and then you're back to kind of an even keel. But pretty powerful. Next is the love versus leadership. So the left column is those characteristics of love that is more utilizing the actions. And the column to the right are those leadership areas that really coincide to the actions. So to move forward, we really need to have those characteristics and then work on those characteristics towards our leadership goal. Next is called the choice. So ultimately we need to make a choice to move into this leadership realm, and they use the word praxis. Traditional thinking teaches us that our thoughts and feelings drive our behavior. So, you know, put it into a context. If you don't like your job, will those feelings show in your behavior? Sure they will. People will be able to tell. 4 stages of developing new habits. So this was a pretty interesting concept too. But essentially, if you're unconscious and unskilled, the person is unaware of the habit and therefore unskilled at the habit. So we want to get to the very end, of course, which is being unconscious but skilled. So that means that, you know, it's effortless for us. The habit is already there and well established, and we've mastered the habit. Next is the payoff. So with all this work, there needs to be a payoff, right? It takes purposeful effort to build influence. So the leadership path is based on building those influences and not using power in order to do that. Choosing to extend ourselves by serving and sacrifice. Again, we build that influence, and the payoff they call is joy. So that inner satisfaction that we get and conviction of knowing that you've achieved is really what we're going for as far as a servant leader. In conclusion, I hope that I've touched on those 7 main points well enough. There's a lot of content in this book that I wasn't able to bring forward to you guys, but I encourage you to read the book. It's a great read, a lot of information in it, all the definitions, the paradigms. These are the 7 main points that I'll just throw up there again. Let's go back to the original questions. Now that you've gone through some of those main points, can you identify those characteristics that gravitated you towards them, that you can say, wow, that was a great leader, or that guy wasn't very good. And is there a stark difference? I hope there would be in what attracted you to a great leader versus a not so great leader. Thanks for watching.